Hearthstone's latest set, The Velocity of Ungoro, a sequel to one of Hearthstone's previous sets from about 5-ish years ago, has been revealed. With it has been a bunch of brand new cards, so let's go over them all. Note, this video will have no model because I still don't have my computer, so we're going to have to do it with my laptop and hope this works. We're going to be starting with the neutral cards, then we'll be going in the reverse order of reveals. Starting with Krog, Crater King, a 9 cost 8 attack 7 HP beast. At the end of your turn, set the attack and health of all enemy minions to 1. Now, this is a card that a few years back, this would have been printed as a Paladin Legendary instead of a neutral Legendary, which probably wouldn't have made it see any play. It is a little bit too high cost even back then to be that strong. However, I could maybe see this playing in Imbue Hunter if you want to do more of a control route with the deck. Now the card that's been making me so upset that I haven't had a computer for a month, Endbringer Umbra, a 7 cost 6 attack 6 HP minion. Battlecry, trigger the death rattle of 5 friendly minions that died this game. I've had so many really fun ideas to play around with this card with. However, because I can't actually record and edit a full video right now, that requires me to play Hearthstone. I haven't been able to play any of them. Overall, this card has been seen play already. I don't think this card is fully explored as it currently stands either, because there are a few strategies that I've been wanting to try out that I haven't seen anyone else try either. Overall, this is probably one of the cards I'm most looking forward to using once the set does come out. Now for the next card, which is going to be City Chief Ezo, a 6 cost 5 attack 7 HP minion. Battlecry, if every minion in your deck shares a minion type, give your other minions +2/+2 wherever they are. Now, we will be seeing a Murloc quest for Paladin, where this could be very potent in that list. Now for the next card, which is going to be Elise the Navigator, a 4 cost 3 attack 5 HP minion. Battlecry, if your deck started with 10 cards of different costs, craft a custom location. And now all these possibilities here are going to be what you can do with this. This plus the scrapbooking student could make for some really fun, interesting combos between bursting geyser and getting multiple copies through things like shutter block, thus making it where you could do up to 40 damage to your opponent's face in a single turn through 4 locations. Now for the next legendary, which is going to be Torga, a 4 cost 2 attack 7 HP undead beast. Battlecry, draw a Kindred card and another card that activates it. And what Kindred does, since we haven't went over it yet, is essentially makes it where if you play a minion of the same type or a spell of the same school on the previous turn, it gets a bonus effect. This is probably going to be a card that is required to be ran in all Kindred-based lists. It's low cost where it gives you a lot of draw power. For the rest of the neutral pool, we'll go over some key cards that I think will be really fun to try to make use of, not going over them all individually. First one is going to be Crystal Tender, which is a 2 cost tradable to attack 2 HP minion. Tradable. Battlecry, gain empty mana crystals until both players have the same mana. This is an interesting card in context of Warlock because you can use Fractured Power as a way to drop your mana really low, slam this down, then gain a bunch of mana, and then you'll get even further ahead. We also have Tortolan Storyteller, a 2 cost 1 attack 2 HP minion. At the end of your turn, give 1/1 to each friendly minion of a different type. This is just good for the Menagerie decks that we've been seeing a lot of, so this one will probably see play. Cloud Serpent is a 4 cost 4 attack 3 HP elemental dragon. Battlecry, get a copy of another elemental or dragon in your hand. I'm assuming, given how it's worded, it can't go infinite between 2 copies of itself, which is probably for the better health of the game. However, there are key elementals or dragons that you might want to get additional copies of, and I am sure glad that Narlax actually has been nerfed. Dissolving Ooze, a 3 cost 3 attack 3 HP minion. With the Battlecry, destroy a friendly minion, spit out the bones of its attack and health into your hand. And essentially, it's going to give you a 2 mana spell that will essentially allow you to give any minion Wind Fury, thus making it actually quite potent in any hand buffing list. The next card we'll go over is Primal Fin Challenger, which is a 3 cost, 3 attack, 2 HP Murloc. Battlecry, your next Kindred triggers twice. Just great for Kindred decks, and there are some Kindred related Murloc cards that will be seen a little bit later. Ultra Gigasaur is a giant meme, but I figured we might as well talk about it. Overall, if there are ways to use it, I don't think you're going to probably want to outside of those big memes. Steamfin Thief is a 4 cost, 3 attack, 2 HP Murloc. Kindred, summon 2 1/1 Murlocs with Rush. This is perfect with the other Kindred Murloc that we just went over. Pterodactyl Egg, a 3 cost, 0 attack, 3 HP minion. Death Rattle, summon a 3/3 Pterodactyl that steals 1 health from all other minions. This could be interesting in some type of weird Umbra deck, or maybe into some other list where you can get multiple of the same death rattles on top of itself real easily. This could be an interesting card maybe in the Archdruid of Thorns list. Overall, though, since it doesn't hit face, maybe that wouldn't be really that good. Overall, cool card. Could be a lot of fun. Rock Skipper, a 2 cost, 1 attack, 3 HP Murloc. Get a 1 cost rock that deals 3 damage. Just a really good card. We'll be seeing a Hunter list that will want to use this a lot. And honestly is a cheap enough minion to easily be abused with Shadow Step. Questing Assistant, Battlecry, if you played a quest this game, deal 2 damage. Just good for the quest decks. We also have Platyosaur, which is a 1 cost, 1 attack, 2 HP beast. Battlecry, draw a card. Death Rattle, discard it. Basically giving you a little bit of draw power. And finally, the last important neutral card is Sizzling Cinder, a 1 cost, 2 attack, 1 HP elemental. Death Rattle, deal 2 damage, randomly split among all enemies. We'll be seeing a lot of synergistic cards with this one. Now for Rogue, starting with their quest, Lie in Wake, a quest that requires you to shuffle cards into your deck 5 times, something that Rogue already wants to do, and the reward is going to be Master Dusk, a 5 cost hero card that has the Battlecry shuffle 2 3/3 ninjas with stealth into your deck, and then your ninjas, when they are destroyed, now get shuffled back into your deck instead of being permanently gone. It is also worth mentioning the hero power draws 2 cards that did not start in your deck for 1 mana, which makes already existing Shuffle Rogue lists really want to run a card like this just so they have easy access to draw into their asteroids or the insidious eruptions. There's a lot of possibilities that this would already fit into a pre-existing list. The ninjas aren't that bad because it does allow you to always have some type of minion and a backup plan, but overall you're probably going to just want to heavily rely on the already existing Shuffle Rogue support. However, there are some other good Shuffle Rogue support in this set. It wouldn't be a Hearthstone set without a giant, or at least a pseudo one. Underbrush Tracker is a 7 cost 5/5 that has Rush, costs 1 less for each time you've shuffled cards into your deck. It's a little bit of a slower version of the giant that people already run in Shuffle Rogue, and I think that card is just a lot better, so this one might not see play, though in theory it does allow you to flood the board quicker. Then you have Knockback, which is a 1 cost removal spell that is upgraded every time you shuffle a card into your deck, starting at 1 damage to a minion, thus being good removal for that deck again. And then we have Interrogation, which is a 2 cost spell that shuffles 3 3/3 ninjas with stealth into your deck that are summoned 1 drawn. You're probably going to want to use this card after you get the quest reward, though you could also just hope you don't draw into them. Overall, I think this card is quite playable. And then finally, we have the Merchant of Legend, which is a 1 cost 1/2 with the Battlecry, discover a legendary minion, shuffle the other 2 into your deck. I think the pre-existing shuffle cards from previous sets are just going to be a lot more potent than running something like this. Alright, now for some of the random rogue sports, starting with Nephicet Weaponsmith, a 4 cost minion. With the Battlecry, get a random weapon from another class, combo, give it +2 attack. Now, if this was a Discover card, I think it would see a lot of play, but sadly it isn't. Then we also have Eyes in the Sky, which kind of plays into the whole deck control and hand control-y rogue lists that, or support that we've been seeing recently, though I still think that deck is a little bit too slow for this card to see too much play, though it is kind of interesting. Then finally, we have Opu the Unseen, a 6 cost Battlecry combo, and Death Rattle minion, cast Fan of Knives with 6 attack and 4 HP. I wish Fan of Knives did 2 damage. That's all I really got to say about this card. In theory, this is a playable card in a more control-y rogue list, but I think the quest rogue cards are a lot more interesting than this. Now for warriors, starting with their quest, which is enter the Lost City, survive 10 turns, get Latorvis, Gaze of the Lost City, which is a 5-cost minion that has the battle cry, get 2 random Journey to Ungoro quest rewards, shuffle the rest into your deck. Now the big outlier, if you've never seen these quest rewards before, is Time Warp, which is basically Zurimi. However, there are a few duds in this list of quest rewards, such as Mega Fin, which doesn't really help you if you have no Warlock synergy. And the next legendary for Warrior has some potential too. Nibla the Watcher, a 6 cost 5 attack, 7 HP. Minion, Battlecry, summon copies of your damaged minions, give them Rush. Now, Rush doesn't matter if your damaged minions have charge. You know what I'm thinking about? Ungoro Warrior. It's a deck that I've been keep trying to make work for quite a while. There's a bunch of hand buffing cards that you could make at easy OTK, just getting 2 copies. You could also use things like Champions of Azeroth to maybe get Bran Bronzebeard to get 3 for the price of 1. Overall, I think this one has a lot of potential, even if it is just a bit of a meme. Then we have City Defenses, which is a 4-cost spell that summons 2/0/6 security with Taunt. They gain 1 attack, 1 damage, and honestly, that's not really that bad of a card. It has a little bit of survivability, though I think in order to see too much play, this would have to be a 3-mana card since it is a little bit slow at 4. And then we have Stone Carver that has the ability at the end of your turn, give a random friendly damage minion +2/+2. I don't think this card will see play. Then we have Story of Sulphurus, a 5-cost fire spell. Swap your hero power to deal damage to a random enemy. After 2 uses, swap back. I guess good spot removal if you really want to do it for that, but overall I think this one will be a bit of a meme. Then we have Shellnado, a 4-cost spell that spends up to 5 armor. For each spent, deal 1 damage to all minions. It is worth noting this works exactly like Corpse Explosion, so you can trigger multiple death rattles and wipe out an entire board, though only capping out at 5 might make it not that playable currently. Then we have Bavarian Armorer, a 3-cost Battlecry minion that deals 2 damage to an enemy minion. If it dies, gain 5 armor. Not bad for a control list. Axe of the Forefathers, a 3-cost 2 attack durability weapon. After your hero attacks, deal 1 damage to all minions. It acts as a little bit of a spot removal and also acts as a way to trigger all the Enraged Warrior support that we saw in the set. This will see play if a aggro Enraged Warrior does come out. Then we have Fortify, which is a 3-cost spell that gains 3 armor, and then you deal damage equal to your armor to an enemy minion. Good for spot removal for a control warrior list. Now for priests, starting with Reach Equilibrium, their quest. Cast 5 holy spells, gain Life's Breath. Cast 5 shadow spells, reward a Death's Touch. Now, Life's Breath will summon a copy of self and have Taunt, and Death's Touch will have Reborn plus deal 5 damage to a random enemy. However, if you have them both in your hand, they combine into Cycle Rebirth, which will allow you to do up to 20 damage with a single quest reward. But using this in combination with things like Rest in Peace makes it where you might be able to easily OTK your opponent, or at least chip away at their HP really quickly, using maybe like Ceaseless Expanse as a way to nuke your board instantaneously with a bunch of these on board. Overall, I think this deck has a lot of potential. The only downside is there aren't that many really good shadow spells in Standard right now. You have Thrive in the Shadows and you have Teeth. There will be a few cards in these later priest cards that will be good to run in this list, but right now you're kind of struggling on playable shadow spells, but I do think there is a lot of potential here because I am a little bit of a sucker for Resurrection Priest, and this is a revival of that. Speaking of one of the good shadow spells, Resuscitate is a 5-cost shadow spell that resurrects a 1-cost, 2-cost, and 3-cost minion and give them Reborn. And there will be 2 really good targets for the questline deck later on. These cards are going to be Glade Ecologist, a 1-cost, 2 attack, 1 HP Death Rattle minion that gets a random 1 cost holy spell that gives a minion +2 or -2 health. And the absolute perfect card for the list, Twilight Mender, a Death Rattle minion that gives you a random Holy and Shadow spell, thus making it where you can easily trigger your quest quite quickly if you can resurrect these enough times. And it is low enough where it doesn't mess with your Rest in Peace pool. We also do have some really good Kindred support within priests, such as Grave Dawn Sunbloom, a draw 2, Kindred, this costs 2 less since it's a holy spell, and there's a lot of holy spells in standard for priest. This is a perfect card for that list. We also do have Story of Amara, which was the old quest reward for priest, where it sets your hero's health to 40. This will probably not be hard ran in anything, but if it is randomly generated in a imbue priest list, this probably will see play that way, making for some frustrating games. And finally, because I can't refuse to talk about this big meme, Wilting Shadow is a 7 attack, 7 HP elemental lifesteal. Whenever you heal an enemy, this attacks it. So this in combination with some hand buffs or just getting additional copies of this could make for some funny haha plays where you heal your opponent's face maybe once or twice and then just beat their head in with a bunch of 7/7s or higher attack point minions and just OTK them. Overall, though, I do think the cost of this card will make that combo not that consistent. Oh, I also almost forgot about Priest's other legendary, Arcanos, a 3 cost 1 attack beast with 6 HP. Whenever another friendly minion attacks, set its health equal to this minion's health. It's alright, I guess. It reminds me of a Pokemon, but that's all I can say about it. Now for DK, starting with their quest, Reanimate the Terror quest, spend 18 corpses, reward Tyrax Bone Terror, which is going to be a 5 cost undead beast that has the death rattle open Terror's Grave, which has the death rattle resummon Tyrax, which does 4 damage, essentially allowing you to, over 2 or 3 turns, resummon a 8/8 and also do 8 damage to your opponent's face. Now, in combination with things like Scrapping Students, you could get an even wider board. There's a few possibilities with the card, especially given the fact that we are going to be getting a pretty good corpse spender in the form of Reanimated Terrax, a 5 cost undead beast. Rush Lifesteal costs corpses instead of mana. This is an interesting card just because of the fact that we haven't really seen this printed on a card yet. I'm amazed it's taking this long for us to see a card that says costs corpse instead of mana. Overall, I don't see a world where this one doesn't see play. The other legendary for DK is going to be High Cultist Heron, a 8 cost Battlecry, summon 2 Death Rattle minions from your deck. They fight. If we still had Cagehead in standard, I think this one would see play, but currently I think this card is a little bit too slow to see too much play. We also do have a Wave of Tar, which is a 1 Frost, 1 Unholy Rune spell that deals 2 damage to all enemy minions. Enemy minions cost 2 more next turn. This is an incredibly cool card for any type of maybe control list where you just want to get rid of your opponent's weak minions and then you can swarm your board with a bunch of higher minions. Overall, I think this one will see a lot of play. And then we have Cryo Sleep, a 4 cost 2 Frost Rune spell that deals 4 damage, draw a card, Kindred, draw another, which is really good for maybe like a OTK Frost deck. I don't think that currently exists in standard, but you never know. A few more cards and it easily could. We also have Dreaded Raptor, which is a Battlecry minion that draws a Death Rattle minion that costs 3 or less. Kindred, it costs 0. This is interesting in combination with Frostbitten Freebooter, I think it is called, where you essentially can easily get into that combo really quickly, though you then have to find ways to get additional copies of it. It has a lot of potential. I actually think this could be a really cool card. We have Bone Chill Stegodon, a 6 cost undead beast with 6 attack, 3 HP. Death Rattle, deal 6 damage to 3 random enemies. Could have some potential. I think Freebooter just outclass it in any type of weird Death Rattle OTK deck. And finally, we have Crypt Map, a 1 cost discover a Frost Rune card. If you play it this turn, also pick one of the others. Good for that OTK list that we were talking about earlier. Let's dive into Paladin with Dive the Golrak Depths, a 1-cost repeatable quest. First time we've ever seen something like this. Summon a 5 Murlocs. Reward your Murlocs. Summon gain +1/+1, which means for every 5 Murlocs you summon, you'll get bigger and bigger Murlocs, which actually is one of the big issues that Murloc decks currently have, is the minions are actually just really, really small, and AoE has outpaced the small bodies on stereotypical Murlocs in even standard right now. Overall, I think this card has a lot of potential because you can combine it with some other tribal synergies if you want to use the amalgam, since there is a wide number of them currently in standard, thus making up a way to get even more advantage off of minions, or at least synergies that you might not normally want to use together with Murlocs. It's something that I've been wanting to see for a while. It's been a while since we've had a really good Murloc list. We have Triano Gil, a 6-cost 6 attack, 3 HP Murloc Beast. Rush, Death Rattle, summon 3, 2, 1 Murlocs. Give them each a random bonus effect. Just a decent card. Gives you a mid-game tool in a Murloc deck, which is usually something that they're missing. Could see a lot of play, and does allow you to have a little bit of Beast Duel synergy too. Then we have Violent Treasure Gil, a 2-cost Battlecry minion that casts a random spell from your deck that costs 2 or less. Targets this if possible. Good if you have any type of minion buffing cards that you would want to use in combination with this, and it does have the Murloc tag, making it even good for that reason alone. Then we have Hot Spring Glider, a 3-cost Murloc that has the Battlecry, your next Murloc costs 2 less. Kindred, and gains Divine Shield. Could be really good if you can buff up your Murlocs enough. Honestly, again, can't see a world where this doesn't see some type of play. We have Submerge Map, a 1-cost spell that discovers a Murloc. If you play it this turn, also pick one of the others. Just a really good card for generation for the Murloc list. We have Already the Fleet, which is a 3-cost spell that gives +1/+2 to a friendly minion and your other minions that share a type with it. I would say this is a perfect card to go with the previous Murloc we just went over. However, it does cost 3, so you can't really use it there. Other Paladin cards, we have Story of Galvgon, which is a 2-cost spell that gives a minion 3 random bonus effects. This could be really cool. And then for the other legendary for Paladin, we have Ido the Thresh Fleet. While this is alive, get a 2-cost Holy Spell that gives a minion +2/+2 and Divine Shield. It costs 4, and then the Call the Thresh Fleet is a 2-cost Holy Spell that gives a minion +2/+2 and Divine Shield. Honestly, it's not terrible. I could see this easily being played in some type of aggro-based list, though I don't know exactly where it currently fits because it doesn't give you any type of tribal synergy, so you might not want to run it in a pure Murloc list. Now for Hunter, starting with the food chain, their quest, play a 1, 3, 5, and 7 attack piece, get Shock to shook your opponent with the big potential of this minion, a 5-cost 9 attack 9 HP beast with Rush Battlecry, get a random 8, 6, 4 attack beast, set their cost to 2. Now if Plush still had charge without a condition, this card could be insane. However, this is just a pure value card, and honestly is actually pretty in line with some of the other quests that we've seen for the set. I don't think any of them are really too game warping. There are a few weird, wacky combos that you come up with, but overall, I think this is a much healthier approach compared to the last set of quests that we saw, which could just straight out win you the game. Though, while this doesn't interest me that much, the next legendary for Hunter is definitely straight up my alley, which is Neri of the Crater, a 3-cost to attack 5 HP minion. Whenever you play a 1-cost minion, double its stats. Whenever you cast a 1-cost spell, cast it twice. Now, for my purposes, completely ignore the first part of the card. For my purposes, the 1-cost spell cast twice is perfect. We saw the Murloc earlier that gives you a rock that does 3 damage, thus allowing you to turn 2 copies of that into 12 damage, which is pretty good. Then you also have Grifta as a way to get 6 damage, then into 12 damage. Plus, if you have Randori Scout, you can get additional copies through that and Tidepool. That's making it where you can OT your opponent pretty easily with all the one-cost spells that you can randomly generate in Hunter. Though, if we want to go back to talk about the quest reward, we do have the Supreme Dinomancy that I joked about being Supreme Amalgamancy, which is a 5-cost spell that gives +2/+2 to all beasts in your hand, deck, and battlefield, making it where your amalgams are just going to get bigger and bigger, especially if you can give them charge. Overall, it might be a little bit too slow just because it costs 5. I think it would be perfect at 4 mana though. Then we also do have Terrorwing Ravager, a beast that costs 6 with Rush. Kindred costs 2 less, making it cost 4. Pretty good for the quest deck, and probably will see a lot of play there. Then we do have Grazing Stegodon, a 3-cost 0 attack 5 HP beast. At the end of your turn, gain +1 attack even while in your hand or deck. Honestly, if you can use this in combination with maybe Xavius to give it charge, this could be a lot of fun. You could maybe give it charge, and in a late game, this could just straight up win you the game if you keep it in your hand long enough. Overall, a lot of potential here. We also have Cower in Fear, which is a 2-cost spell that deals 3 damage to a minion. The next beast you play this turn costs 2 less. Just good as a removal tool and a way to then play a beast out for cheaper. Odd Map is also a really good spell for the quest, which discovers an odd attacked beast. If you play it this turn, also pick one of the others. Gives you access to 2 cards for probably your quest line, which is pretty good. Now for Warlock, starting with their quest, Escape the Underfell, a 1-cost quest. Play 6 temporary cards, reward Underfell Rift. Now, if you follow me on Twitter, this is one of those cards that I jokingly was like, I'd be very much shocked if we didn't see a new version of one of the old quests. And I was like, man, Warlock would make the most sense because you would just have to open a new type of portal, and lo and behold, Warlock is the one that is essentially just an upgraded version of the old Warlock quest, because the Underfell Rift opens a rift that you can throw a card in and you summon 2 random fell beasts, but you can only do it once per turn. These are going to either have Rush Lifesteal, Charge Evasive, or Taunt Reborn on them. But this has a lot more potential because this does actually have some keywords on it instead of just being vanilla 3/2s. And given the fact that there is no downside of just playing as many temporary cards as humanly possible, that this is probably a very potent swarming deck. Some of the other temporary cards that we'll be going over here, such as Curse Catacombs, discover a minion from your deck, make it temporary, which is a 0-cost spell. Again, really good for that questline list. We also do have, then we have Blood Petal Biome, which is the perfect turn 2 play, and you'll see what I mean here. It's a 1-cost location that gives you a temporary 1-cost minion. Essentially, this allows you to slam this down on turn 2, and then slam down whatever temporary minion you have there on the exact same turn. We also do have a 3-cost Death Rattle minion that gets you 2 random temporary 2-cost minions. Temporary cards will stick around until the end of your next turn. So as long as it doesn't get destroyed before the end of the turn that you slam this down, you should be able to slam it down pretty quickly. And Spelunker is the perfect synergistic card for this deck, where is a 2-cost minion that has the Battlecry. Your next temporary card costs 2 less. That's making it easier to spam out a bunch of temporary cards really, really quickly. However, the other legendary for Warlock is going to be Rosindir. I probably butchered that card's name, which is a 4-cost Demon Beast. Battlecry, discard a random card from your hand. Kindred, your opponent's hand instead. Now, hear me out. This card, on paper, probably isn't the strongest card in the world. However, it will be incredibly frustrating to play against when it discards the most important card in your hand. There are ways to get additional copies of this in Warlock, or just be able to discover additional copies thanks to things like Kill Jaden, making this card actually probably quite potent over the long distance of a very long game. I think I can probably come up with something that could be really fun for me, not for my opponent, to play around with this. Probably the card I'm most excited for out of Warlock. Now for Demon Hunter, Unleash the Colossus. The quest for Demon Hunter: deal exactly 2 damage to an enemy on your turn 15 times. Get Garashi Colossus, which is a battle cry for the rest of the game. Whenever you deal exactly 2 damage to an enemy, deal 2 damage more. Now, in Wild, this could be interesting I can't remember if it's even or odd. I guess it would have to be odd Demon Hunter, where your hero power will always do 2, thus making it deal 4. But in Standard, probably not as interesting there. There are some AoEs where it'll make it deal 4 damage instead of 2 damage, which could be good there. Overall, though, there are some other cards that will be going over here, such as Garashi Wasp, which is a 6 cost piece that has 2 attack, 8 HP. Whenever this deals damage, get a 1 cost Garashi Stinger, which deals 2 damage, and then you summon a 2/1 Grub with Rush, making this card probably the perfect synergistic card for that list. We also do have Insect Claw, which also summons a 2/1 Grub with Rush. Probably decent for the bug Demon Hunter list that we'll be seeing. Infestation, where you get 2 1-cost Stingers that deal 2 damage and summons a 2/1 Grub with Rush for 2 mana. This card's actually pretty good. Allows you to go face and deal damage that way. There's a lot of potential for like swarming capabilities, I guess pun intended. Overall, just not really a deck that I'm too interested in trying out. And then we also have Garashi Tunneler that after this attacks, it deals 2 damage to the enemy hero. Overall, again, like this package isn't bad. I think it's better than like the crewmate package that we've seen before, but in my opinion, it isn't too interesting to say the least. However, Hive Map is something that is straight up my alley, which is discover a fail spell. If you play it this turn, also pick one of the others. We don't really have that many good fail spells currently in rotation, but this card has a lot of potential, similar to the Fail Scorcher that we saw in the last mini set. Legendary for Demon Hunter, we have Entomologist Taru, a 9 cost 7 attack 7 HP battlecry minion. Put each minion in your hand into 0/1 jars that cost 1. Break them to release the minions. Now, any battlecry minion this isn't going to work well with. However, this could, in theory, allow to make some fun, weird, wacky OTK cards or combos work a little bit easier, such as the Octori Mill Demon Hunter list, as long as you find a way to break them out and then be able to draw through a bunch of cards. Overall, I think it costs a bit too much to see a lot of play, but it could be a lot of fun. Now for Druid, Restore the Wilds, a quest. Fill your board on 3 of your turns. Reward the Everbloom, which after your hero attacks, give your minions +2/+2. Which if you're flooding the board with a bunch of minions on multiple turns, then you're going to want to make use of this as much as humanly possible, making it where you can get a lot of advantage. However, this deck does have a drawback. If your opponent doesn't destroy your minions, you can't progress your quest, thus making it very heavily dependent on your opponent destroying your minions or you trading into your minions, which is something a deck like this one historically wanted to do. The other Druid Legendary, in my opinion, is a little bit more interesting. Loa the Living Legend, a 7 cost minion with a battle cry, your minions cost 5 this game. Very cool card. Love the art style on the artwork of the card. I think it has a lot of potential. You're just going to have to find the 3 key minions that you are going to want to slam down on the exact same turn for 5 mana a pop. If you use something like Ysera, overall, again, has some potential. Outside of memes, probably not that much, but like, it's straight up my alley. Then we have a Life Cycle that is a 1 cost nature spell that destroys a minion, summoning a random minion of the same cost to replace it. I'm curious how this works in combination with the quest line, because that could be a way to get around your opponent not destroying your minions. So maybe that will be pretty strong there. We also have Eternal Blood Petal, a Death Rattle minion that summons a 0/1 Eternal Seedling. When that is destroyed, it resummons itself, essentially being an infinite loop. We have Hybridization, a 5-cost nature spell that draws a 1, 2, 3, 4 cost minion. Kindred, they cost 1 less. This card is just an imbued Druid card. I don't know what else to say about it. We also have Hatchery Helper, which has the battle cry, give your other minions with 2 or less attack, +1/+2, and taunt, good for the swarming deck. We have Ravenous Flock, that at the end of your next turn, summon 3/2/1 hatchlings, which is just good again for the quest deck. We have Trees that summon a minion, summon 4/2/2 treants that attack it. Kind of actually cool for a maybe treant quest list. We have Sky Screamer Eggs, which summons 4/2/1 hatchlings. You're seeing a pattern here. Most of these cards are just really good in the quest list. Now for Shaman, starting with Spirit of the Mountain. Quest, play 7 minions of unique types, reward Ashelon, which is a 5-cost minion with Battlecry adapt twice. For the rest of the game, give minions you play those adaptations, which in combination with Shutter Block will allow you to choose up to 6 adaptations to give all your minions, which is actually kind of cool. And honestly, that could have a lot of potential. The other legendary we have here is your Elementals deal 1 extra damage, which is a 3-cost 1 attack 5 HP minion. Going to be good in the elemental lists that we'll be going over here in a second. Honestly, Shaman is really only getting 1 new deck in this, which kind of makes me a bit sad, but it is what it is. We have Slag Claw, a 5-cost Battlecry, summon 2/1 Sizzling Cinders. Kindred, trigger your Sizzling Cinders Death Rattles, which is a elemental and a dragon, and then these are going to be we have a Lava Flow. It's a 3-cost fire spell that deals 2 damage to the lowest health enemy 3 times, overload 1. Finally getting some overload cards, which is actually kind of cool. Also, if you can stack some spell damage, this could be really, really powerful. We have Sizzling Swarm, deals 3 damage, summon that many cinders for 6 mana. I think this costs a little bit too much. I think this is pushing the limits of what you'd actually want to run in that list. We have Volcanic Thrasher, which is a Battlecry minion that draws a fire spell that has Kindred, give it spell damage +2. Again, really good in combination with Lava Flow, so this one will probably see play even if you don't use it in a quest deck. We have Mountain a Map, a 1-cost. Discover a minion with a type that you haven't played. If you play it this turn, also pick one of the others. Good for the quest list. We have Flight of the Firehawk, draw 2 minions of different minion types, give them +2/+2, which costs 3 with fire as the spell school. Really good for our little quest list. And finally we have Cinderfin, which is a 2-cost elemental murloc that summons a cinder when it is destroyed. Good enough for the quest list. Now for Mage, their quest is going to be the Forbidden Sequence, a quest to discover 8 cards, reward the Origin Stone. And this is going to be after you discover a card, this plays the other options, lose 1 durability, and costs 3 mana with 8 durability on it. It is worth mentioning, quest rewards have changed in this expansion. If you have a complete full hand, the game will wait to give you the quest reward once you have an empty space in your hand. Thus, using something like Pocket Dimension, which could instantly complete this quest, will not actually lose you the game instantly. Overall, making this card a lot more potent. If you get any high cost spell off of the Origin Stone as an option, you're probably going to be in a really, really good position, making this card really, really powerful. The other legendary we have here is going to be Titan Grafin Osk. Gain a random Titan ability in your hand that changes each turn. And essentially, if you remember what the Titans do, it's every single one of the Titan abilities that existed, but as a battle cry instead. There are some really, really powerful ones that you could get here. We also do have Conjuring Book Keeper, Death Rattle, draw a spell, Kindred, summon a copy of this. This essentially allowing you to draw multiple spells for pretty easily on turn 3. Not bad for any spell-based list. We have Relic of the Kings, a 7-cost spell that discovers a spell from any class that costs 8 or more. It costs 1. This, in combination with the quest reward, is what you're trying to really play. Essentially, this will allow you to get a ton of advantage for free, and then also have a 1-cost spell that would allow you to finish off your opponent quite easily. Now, Storage Scuffle is a 3-cost arcane spell that deals 3 damage to a minion, costs 0 if you discovered this turn, good for spot removal. We have Story of the Way Gate, which is a 2-cost spell that reduces the cost of the cards in your hand that didn't start in your deck by 1. This could be interesting in combination with Supernova, Wind Spirit Page Turner, a elemental that after you summon an elemental deal 3 damage to a random enemy, which costs 4. Good for the elemental mage lists. We have Vault Breaker. After you discover a card, reduce its cost by 1. Great for the Discover mage list. And finally, we have Scrappy Scavenger, 1-cost card that has the battle cry. Discover a card with cost equal to the remaining mana crystals. Again, just really good for the Discover list. Alright, so those were all the cards for the Lost City of Ungoro. Honestly speaking, there's a lot of things here that I really want to try out. The Priest cards in particular have a lot of really cool ideas for me to figure out how to best use, and I can't wait to try those out. Let me know down below which ones you're most looking forward to using. And like always, if you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, bye bye.